though, to keep gas prices around $3 per gallon, or higher, or lower? Our Fox panel back now to talk about that. Gary Kaltbaum, it seems pretty evident that OPEC absolutely loves gasoline at higher prices. However, it tends to bite them when it gets higher than that. What do you think that OPEC's thinking right now about gas prices?
Well, look, OPEC is a business, and they love big profit margins, and that's what they are getting, fixed costs to bring the oil out, and oil prices going up. I think the big secret, though, is OPEC has no control of oil prices anymore. In the past, they've tried to raise production, nothing happened. They tried to lower production, nothing happened. But they are a business, and they want prices to stay up as possible, but not too much, because if you get a worldwide economic slowdown, it will affect oil going forward. By the way, December 16th at 2 p.m., 25-cent drop in gas prices across the country, and I will guarantee you that.
Wait a minute. How do you know? What's your info?
Oh, I don't know. It's a good date, but there is no doubt a good 25 cents in some areas, maybe 30, 35 cents.
All right. Well, Victoria, OPEC, they used to try to make deals to try to keep production down or increase production. It never worked. They're trying it again. Will it work now?
Well, they're trying to respond to the marketplace. They're trying to keep their profits high at the same time. When people complain about high oil prices, they'll often say, oh, it's the speculators. It's not a question of the supply that we're putting on the market. Ultimately, though, you know, if prices go too high, people will pull back. What amazes me is that we've seen such a rise in oil prices. I pay $50 at the pump to fill my Subaru, and folks haven't seemed to pull back. SUVs are still selling strong. The American consumer is, you know, weaker than a year ago, but certainly not as weak as you would think, considering how high oil prices are.
Pat, do you think that because the price was inching up incrementally that people didn't feel it and got used to it and adjusted to the higher price?
Yeah, and I think that the average guy who couldn't afford it just put it on his credit card. And so he's just paying interest on that, and until he taps out, he's just going to keep going. You know, the problem is there's not much of a change in demand when there's a change in price. I can't drive halfway to work, park my car, and hoof it the rest of the way just because they raised the price of gasoline. So what happens is in the short run, all we can do is eat the difference in price. In the long run, though, we can change anything. In the long run, I can buy a more fuel-efficient car. In the long run, I can move closer to work. There's a million things I can do in the long run. The short run is really where we run into the problem.
But, Peter, as Victoria said, it's not changing people's buying habits as of yet. It hasn't really worked its way into the consciousness of America that we got to do something about it in terms of cutting back on oil.
Eventually it will. I mean, people have been putting these on credit cards, charging them against their home equity. But unfortunately, oil prices are going to go a lot higher from here. And it's not really oil that's getting more expensive. It's the dollars that we're using to pay for that oil that are losing value. And also, other currencies are being debased. Central banks around the world are printing a lot of money, and therefore oil prices have to rise. Otherwise, what we're asking OPEC to do is take a price cut to give us the same amount of oil for cheaper currency. You know, when I pointed out, on the show before...
What's wrong with that?
Well, but they're not, it's great for us.
They deserve a price cut.
They're not going to do it. You know, in the 1970s, oil went from $3 a barrel in 1970 to $30 a barrel in 1980. That was a tenfold increase, but that was because we debased our money. Because we created a lot of money in the 1960s, we debased the dollar. As a result, prices went up for everything, and that's what's happening. I mean, oil prices are going up
because it's a supply-demand. It's a basic economic equation. It's supply and demand. The worldwide demand for oil is going up. The supply is not going up. You have a dislocation of a basic economic concept.
The demand is the inflation. We're printing money. That's creating the demand.
Absolutely not. It's the units that are going up. The growth of China's units. China actually used to be self-sufficient when it came to oil.
But they also produce more oil. You know, normally...
Now they import oil, and the reason they import oil is because of their economy.
It goes back to one thing. There is a ton of oil around here, and nobody wants to take it out of the ground. I don't know what's going on. Anwar has billions of oil down there, and nothing to get done. Until that dynamic changes, we're up here in the trees.
That still just puts off the inevitable, Gary K., some people would say. I mean, at some point, Pat's prediction comes to pass that people just get fed up and start buying cars that are more fuel efficient, the hybrids, etc.
Takes time.
Thanks.
Where are they going to get the money?
Well, we'll talk about that in the next discussion.